Hey, look out. It's Faith Talk Live. I'm Rick Probst.
And I'm Dan Ratcliffe.
Now, this guy we're watching live on Facebook, Facebook Live, to me, he is a legend. He wouldn't say that. He's a pretty humble guy, but talent and just God's hand upon him for many, many years. David Huff. David, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are y'all today?
Good to see you.
You know, David, I've known you now since 1980.
It's great to see y'all.
I think it was 1982. David came into this rock station I was working for in Laurel, Mississippi. I had never heard of David and the Giants. And David came in and I was supposed to produce his commercial.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know, Dan, when we're in this business and we have a lot of entertainers, musicians come in, sometimes if they're somebody, they just kind of flick you.
Right. Yeah.
This guy was so humble. And I did his spot and he really touched my heart. And he talked about Jesus, which I didn't want any part of.
Right.
But you know what? His testimony to me left a seed in my heart. And 38 years today, I've been following Christ.
Oh, wow.
Because David's one of those guys that watered that seed that was planted. David, thank you so much for what you've done over the years. And personally, you have touched my soul.
Wow. Hey, thank you for sharing that because, this journey started in the year of 1977. And it was not just something that was going to be maybe, but it was a commitment from the very outgoing that this was forever. And it took me a long time to make that final decision, Rick. And you're very familiar with Laurel, Mississippi, but that's where it all began. And it began in a man's home when he was dying with cancer. And my two brothers, Raymond and Claymore, invited me over to his home to hear his testimony. And it was there that I heard some amazing things about the Lord. And though he was dying with cancer, and I could tell he was in a lot of pain, but yet through all the pain, he felt like he needed to share his experience with God in hopes that I would surrender to the Lord. But it happened there, after I don't know how long. I think it was a few hours, but it was actually May 29th, 1977. And it was amazing. It touched my heart that he would take his time through all the pain that he was going through because he was lying on the floor, witnessing to me about Jesus Christ. And so I was still in a rock and roll band called David and the Giants. And Rick, I know you remember that group, but it was an older David and the Giants that served ourselves and not the Lord. My two brothers were already serving God, and we were all there together at this man's home. And I'd been playing around with the Lord, never really coming to that place that, hey, this is it. This is what I want to do. Because I had a contract with United Artists Records and I had a song called Sweet Margarine. And, it was doing really well through the country. But it was there that night that the dying man, that he was witnessing to me. I got up ready to go. His name was Brother Wyndham. And so I thank Brother Wyndham for his time, and sharing. And I got to his door and I was about ready to leave. And Brother Wyndham said these words to me. He said, David, I got one question to ask you. I said, what's that? He said, do you want to be saved or not? Just like that.
Wow.
People have asked me all kind of questions about serving the Lord, but he pinned me down with a direct question, yes or no. Do you want to be saved or not? I waited all out, Rick and Dan, and the wisest and the greatest decision of my life was May 29th, 1977.
Wow.
It was there that I gave my complete life, heart and soul to Jesus Christ.
David Huff in studio there in Good Hope, Georgia, just down the street from me, as we were talking earlier before we went live. You're watching him on Facebook Live and listening to him on the radio. Just a little bit of background, David. When you were David and the Giants, I think I read 63 or 64. You guys put out Rockin' Robin, which was a classic. You played with guys like Mick Jagger. You opened up for Styx. You played with Little Richard, the Rod Stewart, Muscle Shoals. I mean, the list goes on, but there was an emptiness in your soul. And thank God for that gentleman, his last minutes that he shared with you. And because of that, his obedience, his passion, look what's happened over the last, 40 years you guys have been together, touring, ministering to people, thousands, no doubt, of lives coming to Christ, coming to Jesus because of that man, his obedience and yours. We appreciate that. Hey, you can find out more about David. Go to davidhuff.com. David mentioned Claiborne and Rayburn. We talked to Keith, a drummer at one time with David and the Giants. When was that, Dan? A couple of weeks ago.
Yep.
And what a story that was. And we know that his influence on you guys as well was pretty massive, paramount. Yes. So let's talk a little bit about this. You gave your life to Christ. Your music changed. You started doing what would be CCM. We would call it CCM now. It was kind of new back then. In 77? Not much CCM, Christian contemporary music around, right?
Not many artists back then. No.
No. You're so right. Well, I remember it was not accepted in a lot of places that we went, but I do remember that we emptied about a half a church about everywhere we went.
That's funny. Now, did that affect you at all? I mean, were you just so focused on sharing the love of Christ that it didn't matter to you? You guys just did what you did and played to the people or ministered to the people that were there. Is that how you felt about that?
Oh, yeah. We felt like everything that we did and are still doing was all completely led by the Lord. And so, you have to rise above situations. And we didn't let people's attitudes dictate our love. But we just we knew that God had a purpose for us then, and God has a purpose for us now. We're not slowing down. I feel like we're gaining speed in the name of Jesus. These are the greatest days we've ever lived, and we're going to live them to the best and the fullest. And we're going to see people saved and filled with the Holy Spirit. Old things being passed away and all things becoming new.
David, how did you get into music in the first place? Was it something that you just grew up loving? How did you get into it? Because obviously it's a gift that God gave you.
It was, Dan. And back when I was just a little boy, my dad played country music, and there was a guitar that always was in the corner there that only got picked up like on a Saturday. Saturday was the day that country people went to town. And so I was brought up in this little 3-room shack. And before we'd leave to go to town, my daddy would, he'd be ready to go, but he had a few minutes to play the guitar and yodel. He played country music. So I learned from that. And I guess when I was maybe like about 4 years old, I remember looking at the guitar one day, and it was like, that's what I want to do for the rest of my life. And I thought it was, country music. And then I heard other people's music, and I felt like that there was a lot of soul that came from Black folks and my Black brothers and sisters back then. I didn't know that a thing that we really are brothers and sisters, those that are in Christ Jesus. And so anyway, I learned from them, and I learned from the Rolling Stones and groups like that, But I knew from the very beginning that it would be music, but I didn't know until 1977 who gave me the gift of music, who gave me the voice to sing and to write, and I do it for his glory.
David Huff with us, davidhuff.com. David is a singer-songwriter, and didn't you guys just celebrate, 40 years? You released a new album. You did if I remember right, you went to, was it Thailand? Where did you guys go last year?
Actually, it was 2 years ago to the Philippines.
Philippines.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Ilu is the name of the city that we went to, and it was such an incredible event.
40 some years of putting out just amazing stuff. In fact, I think, there used to be a thing called Dan, a record, and you played it on,
Oh yeah, I played them at the beginning of my radio career.
played it on a
Yeah.
turntable. Now I listen to streaming, right? And
Yeah.
iTunes and stuff. But I've got some David and the Giants albums in my closet in a box.
Yep.
And from
Yep.
time to time, I pull them out, just look at them because I don't have anything to play them on.
hmm
And just reminded of just so much great stuff that touched so many lives. By the way, if you're watching us, that is David Huff there. He's in studio there, Good Hope, Georgia, davidhuff.com, the place to go to. Follow him on Facebook as well. We're going to talk more about what is going on now, a little bit about what's happened as far as the albums. And as he mentioned just a second ago, they feel like this is the best time of their lives. And they've got plenty of time left to share Jesus like they do so well. Hey, David, we love having you here. And over the years, as I mentioned just seconds ago about the albums, I run into people that have seen you over the years. No offense, but, I'm almost 60 now. I think I started coming to your concerts when I was 21 years old. No doubt there are people with grandkids that have seen you guys and listened to your stuff. I would say the most, the most powerful song, all your stuff's good, but probably the most requested song would be what? Noah, you think?
Yeah, I would have to say that particular song, Noah, would be an all-time favorite. Either that one or a song called Here's My Heart.
Yeah.
hmm
I remember, gosh, there's so many. In fact, this morning I was thinking about the interview with you, and I don't even remember. I apologize. I don't even remember this album, but this particular song is so deep in my soul that I find myself singing it over the years. It just comes out, and it's "You Were Always on My Mind." I don't even know if that was the title, but it was always on. You were always on my mind is what you sang.
Yeah.
And what touched me was not only the skill that you guys had, but the way you delivered it, because it touched the soul of people. And when you touch somebody's soul, it's not just a hit and run. It's something that you leave. It's an imprint. So thank you so much for your imprint. How many albums do you recollect that you guys have put together, including the last one?
That's a great question. I was trying to figure that out the other day, and I guess something took my mind away from that. But it's quite a few. But each one is more special than maybe what is being portrayed right now. That I don't know how many. It's just like they're my little children, and you forgot which one was which.
Yeah.
But anyway, I would say probably around 23 album stuff.
Wow.
Now I'm gonna put you on the spot now because you just said your stuff is like your children, which is understandable. Do you have a favorite song or a favorite album, or are they all and you just want to go with that?
I'd have to say, let's just go with that because I remember my dad, he only went to about the third grade, but he had a college education in just common sense.
hmm
But one thing he always taught my two brothers, my sister, Dorothy, and myself, he always taught us, that he was never going to show any kind of favoritism to one to the other. And, I look back and I know he lived by that, and I want to live by that too. And as far as people are concerned, I never want to show favoritism. If somebody is a great radio announcer and they got a lot of quote pull to become favoritism to them, that game, escaped me a long, long time ago if it was ever there at all, because of just God is no respecter of persons.
hmm
And I consider it an honor and a privilege to be with you two brothers today. But I don't want people out there to think, hey, well, what about this and what about that? I always want to love everybody, no matter if they're rich, no matter if they're poor, no matter what color they are. I love them all. God is love.
Yeah.
Love that.
I love that. We're talking to David Huff, musician and leader of David and the Giants. Now, David, you said your guys' best years are right here, right now, and still to come. And in the music world, sometimes some musicians might tend to be a little more pessimistic because, music habits are changing, the way people listen to music and whatnot. So talk about this being y'all's best time now.
The best time now is looking forward to what God's going to be doing and what he is doing. And I feel that these are the greatest hours that maybe we've never seen before. I mean, the very idea that we're actually doing a broadcast this morning, and I'm looking at you guys and you're looking at me, and
Yeah.
here we are. A lot of other folks that are watching also. It's just a different time, a different season. But I feel that this is our greatest season because God is starting to give more new songs, and there's people out there that needs what we have, and that's Jesus Christ in us, the hope of glory.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking with David Huff. He's in his studio there in Good Hope. And of course, Dan and I are in our separate studios, me just down the street from David, and Dan way
across town in Ackworth. Yeah.
There in Ackworth. DavidHuff.com is a good place to go to. You can see his music and get some of his music there. David, we want you. I know we had asked you to do a song. If you can do a song, that'd be great. If not, it's all good. We'll get you next time because we know that the morning that those pipes of yours need to warm up. There you go.
Yeah.
Of all the stories you've heard over the years of folks after the fact, and this is something that I remember years ago. It's been a while since I've seen you guys. I've lived in California since, Laurel, and just really all over the nation, back here in Atlanta now for, I guess, about 20 years maybe. But I remember going to concerts all over with you guys, and at the end, you would obviously give an altar call, and people would come forward. But you always spent time afterward talking to people. And now I'm older, and I'm thinking, what a sacrifice he made and the group made, because you played, you set up, you played, you ministered, and then somebody had to tear down, but you spent hours one-on-one talking to people, ministering to people. And that's just amazing. You must have been tired when you got home from some of those places. Do you remember one story that's really, really touched your heart that you can remember over the years that somebody maybe came after a concert?
Wow. There are so many that it's hard to nail one down, but I guess the first one that jumped in my mind was a few years ago. We were in, it was close to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, but I don't remember the exact town, but I do remember what happened. At the end of every concert, normally we do that song called Noah. And we did that particular song, and there was a young girl that came up, I would say 19, 20, something like that. And she was really weeping, and we went and prayed for her. And little did we know that just a few hours before she got to the auditorium, she had written a note already that she was taking. It was a suicide note that she was taking her life that night. But there was somebody that was there that was reaching out to this young lady and called her and said, "I'm coming by to pick you up to go to a concert." And she didn't want to go, but the lady was persistent, went and picked that young lady up, took her to the event there at the auditorium, and we played the song Noah. I didn't know, and the lady didn't know, and the young lady that that came, we didn't know that she was from Mississippi. And when she didn't know that when she was a little girl, she heard this song Noah. She never knew who the band was.
Wow.
When she heard that song, her mind flashed back, snapped in that young girl's life that night. She ran to the altar and gave her life to God. And she shared this part of her testimony that night after we prayed for her. And there was such a peace, such a calmness about her that she didn't mind telling that she was planning on taking to the Lord that night.
Wow. What a story.
That. Yeah. David Huff in the studio there. Now, David, do you think you could play one, or you want to wait until next time and we'll get your pipes warmed up? What do you think?
Well, brother, I brought this water just in case that you were persistent, but I was going to try to get out of it. But
well, if you're
really persistent, I don't know what would come out this early. But
how about just a chorus
to everyone?
How about just a chorus?
Huh?
We're running a little short on time anyway. How about just one chorus? How would that be?
One chorus, okay.
Yeah, that'd be great.
This while he's getting the guitar there, you can go to davidhuff.com and follow him on Facebook. He and his brothers, and at one time his son Lance was his drummer there for a while. They are amazing musicians, but the touch of God is on their life, and they touch so many folks. All right, David, let's hear it, and then we'll go to a break.
Yeah.
Oh God, my salvation, you are the rock that moves me. You are the rain that fills my soul. Whenever life seems heavy, I know you're more than ready to come and make my spirit whole. This is my song of praise. Yeah.
All right.
Hallelujah.
Yeah.
Listen, those pipes don't need warming up.
Yeah, they sounded great to me.
Look out.
Praise the Lord.
Thank you so much for your time. We'd love to get back with you and have you on again. You're a delight. You have always been just monumental in my life, and I appreciate that. Love you. Hope I run into you sometime at the Piggly Wiggly up there in Good Hope.
That's good.
Hey, we'll be back in just a few. Remember, go to davidhuff.com. Follow David. Get his stuff. It's great stuff. We'll be right back. I'm Rick Probst.
And I'm Dan Ratcliffe.
This is Faith Talk Live.